Cleo. Great. There he is. We're glad. He's district governor too. So Woody's in the house. We are happy. So, friends, Rotarians, guests, welcome to the September 1st. It's September, folks. I shouldn't have these white jeans on, right? Okay. I'm Walt Kuno, president of the club, Paul Hedge-Farrell, fellow, and you're not. Now for the housekeeping. Silence your phones, but I just reminded myself to do so they don't inadvertently go off. And if you're having lunch, take your ticket, put it on your place so the servers can collect them and bring you your lunch in a minute. Now, since we're all standing, the folks that were here last week knows what a great meeting we had. And that was due to a lot of people. And so, since you're standing, we can give a round of applause, a standing ovation without standing up. First of all, Delane just had this place was rocking. Kevin and Karen, and Kevin from Savers. It's Savior Kevin in the back. Kevin Sherrod. They've spent countless hours getting our technology correct, and it worked like a champ last week, and our governor felt like he was right here in the room. Julie Schmidt got our governor. She deserves a round. And Ashley's just been lining up all these great speakers. And Cleo, you get to follow the governor and Aaron Thompson. And we're looking forward to having you here today. So with that, no pressure at all, ever. We're going to have fun again. Providing our invocation today is Doug Myers, broker associate with Simmons & Realtors. You may not know this, but Doug is the district parliamentarian. He has Robert's Rule of Orders memorized backwards. He's a Paul Harris Fellow. We're glad Doug is here. Welcome, Doug.
All right. In honor of our speaker today, Cleo Battle, we have a tourist prayer. So shall we pray? Heavenly Father, look down on us, your humble tourist servants, who are doomed to travel this earth taking photographs, mailing postcards, buying souvenirs, and walking around in drip-dry underwear. We beseech you, Lord, to see that our flight is not canceled, our luggage is not lost, and our overweight baggage is unnoticed.
I can say that is the first time I've ever heard an invocation get a round of applause. And now for the pledge and four-way test is Rotary member Ginger Wallace, Director of Development at the Parks Alliance of Louisville, and a Paul Harris Fellow. And she does all kinds of behind-the-scenes work. She does the mentoring, she works on repair affairs, and she's just one of these all-around good Rotarians, just like many of you in the room. I guess I should say all, but anyway.
Thank you, President Walt. First, the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right, everybody can be seated. Rotarians, make your way. If you have a guest, back to the microphone. Introduce yourself first, then your guest. And when this is over, if you're interested in becoming a member of Rotary, Rick, I'm not Craig Sherman. Rick Harney will be up here. Rick is back there to talk about what is Rotary. And there we go. First up, here we go.
Hi, President Walt. I'm Sharon Freeman with Old National Bank. I'd like to introduce my guest. It's Alejandro Custa. He's with Old National Bank. He's our CRA mortgage lender.
Hello, Walt. We're coming for that trophy. I have two guests today.
Again.
First is Judge Johnson II. Please stand. He's a 20-year entrepreneur. He built a sales team of 6,000 representatives that serviced 30,000 clients before. He currently is a high school basketball coach at Atherton and he does AAU. He uses basketball as a tool to help kids understand and play the game of life and win. He's also a business coach. Thank you, Judge Johnson, for coming. My next guest is Angela Jackson Brown. If you would please stand. She is the director and founder of Global Interventions Ventures in Education, also known as GIVE. And she is here today to seek a partnership for others that want to empower our community to overcome health, economic, and financial disparities, which is what Rotary is all about. She's had GIVE for over 17 years, and she's currently doing a coat drive this winter, right after Thanksgiving. So she's looking for any business owners that want to use your location as a drop-off for people to give coats, or if you want to sponsor so that she can purchase coats to give to the community. And then what's left, we can also give to Western Kentucky from the tornado victims, and Eastern Kentucky from the flood victims. So the kids are definitely going to need coats, hat, gloves, scarves. So see her afterwards if you would like more information.
Hello, Jalene Taylor, Executive Director of the club. Charles, is your guest here?
No.
Okay. And Greg, where's Greg Braun? No. All right, you're supposed to be sitting where your name is at the president's. But you have a guest, right?
Yes, I do.
All right, you gonna come introduce her?
Well, she told me not to, but my guest is Barbara Langford. Barbara used to be a member of our club, and I told her how great the meetings are, and she's with Kindred, and she's introducing our guest. So not only is she a guest, but she's an I still have yet to introduce a guest.
We'll put you on the list, Greg. You gotta behave first. We only give people the mic that we can trust to not go off script. Okay, and I totally forgot that I was supposed to do this today, so I don't have anything written down about them, but I have two guests here, Justin Slaw, and I'm saying it right, and Haven Harrington. Would you yell out where you're from?
I'm from Atlanta originally, but I'm here in Louisville, came here for law school, worked at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for a while, and I'm just into politics.
All right, worked at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for
Yeah, my name is Haven Harrington. I'm currently working on Charles Booker's Senate campaign as the Director of Special Operations. By day, by night, I also have a sports talk radio show, CEO of Main Event Sports. Been doing it for like 14, 15 years now. All around good guy, and
Thank you, Jalene, and thank you all our guests. And for those of you who don't know, Jackie was intimating about some prize that I promised to the person that brings the most guests. And I will say, since I've been president, Jackie has brought at least 2 guests in every meeting, and only once has she been by herself, which we like her here one way or the other, but she is by far eclipsing the room. Bring guests, and then these guests turn into members. So Jackie's doing her part. And I see I'm getting walked off the stage by our announcer today. Our announcer, Mike Brumley, Business Development Manager at INS Medical, Chair of the District 6710 Speech Contest.
You took my extra time, so I can't go off script. All right, so here are the announcements. The Honor Flight Bluegrass is making its final flight of 2022 on Wednesday, September 7th. Please consider joining us and other fellow Rotarians to cheer these veterans as they return to the airport. You see all the golf, well, not all the golf balls. There's a golf ball probably on everybody's table. That's a reminder, and you can take it if you register today, to register for our golf scramble at Glen Oaks Country Club on September 6th. September 26th. It's going to be a great time. All right, so now I'm going to make a shameless pitch for my speech contest. I know many of you are passionate about helping the youth in our community. An excellent way to do that is to be part of our team. And that's the team that oversees our annual club speech contest competition. We all know that time, talent, and treasure are hallmarks of being a great Rotarian. Treasure is certainly important, but only one component. Our Youth and Education Committee needs 2 people now to assist with this year's speech contest specifically, and 2 others to serve on committees in other areas. If this is something you'd like to learn more about, please contact myself or my boss, Karen Morrison. Is Karen here? I didn't see her. Okay, but anyway, we can contact her. Hopefully all of you read the email and press release earlier this week announcing our September 15th meeting with Senate candidate Charles Booker at the Joe Palm Room. We have a buffet lunch at $25 and a cash bar. More details are in the email and Sparks. Please plan on attending and bring guests to see what to expect, or excuse me, we expect it to be a packed house. President Wall, with that to you.
Thank you, Mike, and there's so much fun stuff happening, we always forget something. So Mike acted like there's a script. It's kind of a suggestion for me. But anyway, the week after we have Charles Booker, and how many of y'all know where that meeting's going to be? Where's it going to be?
Joe's Palm Room.
If you come here, what's going to happen? No lunch unless you buy your own and miss the meeting, okay? So don't come here unless you're meeting somebody to carpool. So we're going to Joe's Palm Room. It's exciting. The week after that, September 22nd, we're having the United Way's Wealth Gap Simulator as our program at Second Presbyterian Church. How many of y'all have done the Wealth Gap Simulator before? A few of you have. Ask them what it's like. It is worth our time to go do this. It's going to be from 11:30 to 1, so it's a longer meeting because this Wealth Gap Simulator takes a bit. We'll have lunch, but this is once again our commitment to learning about the issues that affect our entire community, but specifically in West Louisville. And we need to be educated. We're doing lots. We need to do more. And I'm so proud of our Rotary Club for making these arrangements at Joe's Palm Room. And I'm proud. I've had 6 Rotarians come up and say, I am so happy that we're going to Joe's Palm Room. I hope you are too. This is gonna. I've got Barbara's my bobblehead. I'm sorry. It's okay. Barbara's loving this. I am loving this. And Rotary's doing the right things. We've done it for over a century, but we continue to lead our community on how things get done and how to help our neighbors. So, with that, I'm going to turn this program over to Barbara Langford, our former Rotary member and potential returning Rotary member, right? We're going to put all kinds of pressure on you, Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you, President Walt. Rotarians and guests, it's my pleasure to introduce Cleo Battle, the President and CEO of Louisville Tourism. He has been with Louisville Tourism since he moved to Louisville in 2013 and has been in his current role since last year. Cleo's worked in the hospitality industry for nearly 35 years. Prior to coming to Louisville, he spent 12 years at the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Richmond, Virginia. And during his career in the hotel industry, he's also worked for Embassy Suites, Holiday Inn, and Sheraton Hotels. Cleo's a native of Denver, a skier, those of you who enjoy the sport like I do, and a graduate of Metropolitan State University in Denver with a bachelor's degree in hotel and restaurant management. He earned his master's of business administration in 1997 from Averett University in Virginia. He's both a certified destination management executive and a certified association sales executive. Recent industry recognition includes Events and Industry Council 2020 Social Impact Award winner, Business First of Louisville inaugural Power 50, as well as the Courier Journal's 12 People to Watch in 2021. Cleo's a busy man, in addition to promoting Louisville throughout the country for conventions and tourism opportunities. He also serves on the boards of Meeting Planners International, Kentucky State Fair Board, Kentucky Derby Museum, Louisville Sports Commission Executive Board, Louisville Regional Airport Authority, Fund for the Arts, Louisville Zoo Foundation, and the Northeast YMCA Northeast Branch of YMCA of Greater Louisville. So, my pleasure to introduce my friend, Cleo Battle.
Is this the mighty control here?
You get a point.
Point there. There we go. All right. Well, thank you, Barbara. Barbara and I used to be next door neighbors, and so we know a little too much about each other, so we'll keep that between ourselves. I am very excited to be here with you all today. And yes, there are a lot of boards that I'm on, but when you are only, what's the first thing you all ask someone who, when you meet them, what high school did you go to, right? Well, when you only lived here for 10 years, I feel like I've got to get involved in the community because I don't have that high school that I went to. So that's part of all the boards. So anyway, yes, as Barbara said, I'm Cleo Battle, President and CEO of Louisville Tourism, and I want to thank you for letting me be with you today, and I'm going to share some of our destinations updates with you, but more importantly, I'm looking for tourism ambassadors in this room today. The ambassadors that we see on the screen here, these folks have done a great job representing our community. The only problem with this group is that none of them can speak. And so I need some ambassadors that are proud to tell someone that they are a Louisvillian, someone that's going to invite your friends and family to come and visit, to encourage your personal and professional organizations to meet in Louisville, and for someone to volunteer. We need volunteers to host all the hundreds of meetings that we have. We need your help there. First, I'm going to give you all a little bit of history with tourism. Prior to the pandemic, 19 million visitors come to Louisville every year to visit. About 4.4 million go through the doors of our museums and attractions in this community. 73,000 employees are in the hospitality tourism industry in Jefferson County. That's hotel, that's restaurant, that's airport, that's museum and attraction, that's the convention center, that's the expo center. Tourism is a $3.4 billion economic driver to Jefferson County. Saves each of you as residents $800 in local and state taxes because of the impact of tourism in this community. Now, unfortunately, we saw this all fade away quickly with the pandemic. As you, many of you probably know, our industry took it on the chin, probably more so than others. 2022, though, we've seen a decisive turn as we came into the spring and got into the summer. The month of May really saw us really take off again as it relates to tourism. The Kentucky Derby had a 95% occupancy at the Derby this year, which was 4 percentage points higher than it was in 2019. You'll love this. The average hotel daily rate in Louisville for the Derby, $672 a night through Jefferson County. It was about 8% higher than it was in 2019. We still want you to invite your friends though. But not only was Derby good, but the entire month of May, one of those, Forecastle Festival moved from July to May, and so that really helped May. But May turned into a record year. I don't mean for May's, I mean for all months since we've been keeping track of it. The transient room tax collection in May was, let me get this right, $3.2 million. And I'm going to give you some perspective on that. We have never collected in any month since we've been tracking transient hotel room tax collections, any month over $3 million. The last best month we had was May of 2016, and that was $2.6 million. So May of this year was phenomenal. Now, that's Derby, that's Forecastle. It's probably a lot of revenge travel. As we all know, people are getting out of the house and they're traveling. But nevertheless, just a fantastic month, and it's kicked off a great summer, and it's really got our tourism community back to where it was. Let me tell you a little bit about Louisville Tourism. So, for those of you who may not know, our jobs at Louisville Tourism are to bring visitors to this community. We define visitors as meeting and convention visitors, leisure visitors, corporate visitors. We spend the most of our time at Louisville Tourism meeting, convention, and event, and leisure visitors. That's where we spend most of our time. We are your marketing agency throughout the globe. We are marketing this community Internationally, we are marketing this community domestically to attract visitors to our community. We're an interesting organization in that, so we were established in 1968 by the state. And when they established our organization, they said, the state's not providing any funds to Louisville Tourism. The city is not providing any funds to Louisville Tourism. So we're set up really well. We get a percentage of that bed tax I was just talking to you about in May. We get a percentage of that. And so those legislators at the time in 1968 basically said, Louisville Tourism, you do your job well, you'll have all the revenues you need. You don't do your job well, then you're in trouble. We're probably as close to government as you can get without being government. The mayor's office has 6 appointments on my board. The governor's office has 3 appointments on my board. So while we're not a city or state agency, we're pretty close. And we maintain those relationships well. So I'm going to ask again. I'm looking for tourism ambassadors. I see no hands going up. I need someone to tell me that I want you to tell someone how proud you are to be a Louisvillian. I'm looking for someone to invite friends and family to visit. I'm looking for someone to encourage their personal and professional organizations to host meetings in Louisville. And I'm looking for someone to volunteer to help us host meetings. Now listen, maybe you don't want to volunteer, but maybe you got someone in the house that you're like, get out of the house. Go volunteer for a meeting or a convention. I'm going to keep asking this question as I go along. All right, so why is Louisville hot? Why is Louisville hot? And I'm sure you all are asking that. We were hot going into the pandemic for tourism. As I just told you about May, we've come out of the pandemic, we're still hot. I'm going to use a word that all of you hate, authenticity. It's authentic, we all hate that word now, but it's true. So in Louisville, we have attractions that you can't do in other cities, and that's what makes us authentic. Bourbon tourism. Yes, can you drink a bottle of bourbon or buy a glass of bourbons in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Absolutely. But you cannot experience the culture, the craftsmanship, the history of that product other than here in Kentucky and here in Louisville. And that draws millions of people to our community every year. We used to be, and I'm sure many of you that have been in the community for a while, it used to be seasonal. We always knew we'd be busy around Derby time. Listen, folks, I'm here to tell you, we're busy all year long. December, February, June, we are busy when folks come into our attractions. It's a 3-month wait. By the way, when you're inviting your family and friends to come, make sure you let them know it's a 3-month wait to get into most of our distilleries. You cannot just show up and say, I'm going to get in. You've got to make reservations ahead of time. But here's what I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you this again. You see these guys up here? What we want bourbon to be is not Nashville, or not Broadway down in Nashville, or Bourbon Street down in New Orleans. This is not about the consumption of alcohol. This is about an experience. We brand bourbon as if we want to be Napa and Sonoma. That's the experience we want for bourbon. These are the kind of guys we want. This is not consumption. And if anyone raises their hand and says, I want to be more like Broadway in Nashville, I'm taking your lunch away. So we do not want to be that. So that's what we're doing with bourbon. So our other brand is obviously Churchill. Now, all of you probably say, well, it's horse racing. And you're right, it's about horse racing. But really, for us, as we're a marketing community, it's more about that young lady on the right. Because I can tell you, when we talk about Derby out of market and we do events, when we ask folks in Chicago and Atlanta and DC to come to an event for us, can I tell you how proud they are to put their hat on and their spring dresses, and the guys put their bow ties on and their hats? They love that experience. When we host meetings and convention events here, and they say, we want to have a Derby experience, whether they go to Churchill or not, We'll do a hat, we call it a hatitude. We do a hat making experience for the attendees where the ladies can make hats, we make hats for the men. They love that brand, they love that experience, and that's something that you all should know. Yes, it's a horse race, but there's more to it than just that horse race. Ali. Let me give you a factoid that I surely know you don't know. So 3% of that 19 million that I mentioned to you is international visitation. We've got some opportunity for international. When you think only 3%. What's so interesting about the 3%? 67% of the 3% come to Louisville because of Ali. And so we have a real opportunity as we begin to grow our international branding to use the Ali tourism as a way to continue to grow international visitation into our market. So we're very excited about that. Slugger. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with Slugger Museum. You know what's great about Slugger is we've got a 120-foot baseball bat that is larger than life. The museum is full of baseball memorabilia for sports fans. And you get to watch them make Slugger bats for professional baseball players. And so while Slugger Museum may not get the National Association of Pencil Makers excited out of DC. There's a lot of sports groups that love to get involved with the Slugger Museum. Now, I know we've all know if you've been downtown on a summer day, how many of us have seen kids walk around with those little bats? Yeah. I mean, that's a great sign for us when you see that. The other thing that makes us hot, and you may not think it's all that sexy, I do, is that we've got 2 buildings, Convention Center downtown and the Expo Center, 7-minute drive away. There's, as much as you live here and you think about it and you say you're just used to it, there's not many cities that have these 2 size facilities within close proximity. It's one of the reasons we do so much meeting, convention, and event business in our marketplace. Anyone want to take a guess how many meetings, convention, events we did in 2019? Just shout out a number. Anybody? 200. Not that many. 250? 1,000. That's close. 881 meetings, conventions, and events we hosted in 2019. It is a big business in our market. This year we'll do a little over 600 meetings, conventions, and events, and give you some perspective on that. Last year in 21, obviously we're still in the middle of the pandemic, we did about 158. So it's good to see us sort of growing and getting back to where we were. Our sales department is we're about a 60-person organization. Our sales department is about 20 of that 60. It's a large department. We have offices in Chicago. By the way, Chicago, you're going to hear me say this a couple times, #1 leisure visitation market that comes to Louisville. They drive right by Indianapolis and they come to Louisville. Right? That's worth clapping for. So we got offices in Chicago, DC, and Atlanta to represent and to sell, again, these 2 buildings to keep them full. And that's how you get to hosting 881 meetings, conventions, and events. I don't get this since you guys are believing me, and so I have a couple other slides, because I'm going to keep selling you on being ambassadors for me. So, accolades. I took about 16 of the 56 the destination has received since the beginning of the year. So whether you believe it yourself or whether you believe me, there's folks that are outside of our market that believe highly in who Louisville is as a destination. All of you probably think, we're not Orlando, we're not LA, we're not Miami. Yes, that might be true, but we are a place that people want to visit. I mean, look at some of these, the 50 best places to travel in 2022 by Travel and Leisure. South's best cities in 2022 by Southern Living. I got more because I know you all need convincing. Historic hotels, parks, 22 best places to travel in the U.S. in 2022 by Forbes. Look at the 1 second from the bottom and think about where you're eating today. The 100 best outdoor dining restaurants in America for 2022 by Open Tables River House. I'm here to convert you all into ambassadors and believers in your own destination. Okay, I'm here again. Tourism is seeking ambassadors. I'm looking for someone to tell someone how proud you are to be a Louisvillian. I got one hand. Someone that's going to invite friends and family to visit. I've got a few more hands. I want someone to encourage your personal and professional organizations to hold meetings in Louisville. There's one. Oh, now I'm getting hands. I love it. Volunteers. We host hundreds of meetings, as I just told you. We need volunteers. It may not be you. Kick someone out of the house. We need volunteers. All right, I like that there's more hands going up because I've got more things to convince you on. Okay, so let's talk infrastructure in our particular sector. The growth of the infrastructure in our sector. I want to talk hotels because I hear this all the time from Louisvillians. Why are we building another hotel? I know you all have heard it, and maybe some of you have said it to yourself or to your neighbors. Let me give you perspective. So when we are competing for meetings, conventions, and events, our competitive set is Indianapolis, it's Nashville, it's Columbus. Columbus, Ohio is on the up. It's Cleveland, it's Kansas City, it's St. Louis. Those are the cities that, because when conventions come to town, or when conventions are looking at areas, they typically say, this year we're going to meet on the East, this year we're going to meet in the Midwest, this year we're going to meet in the West or South, we're in the Midwest. And so that's why we compete against those particular cities. So let me give you perspective. Indianapolis has 35,000 hotel rooms. Kansas City, 35,000 hotel rooms. St. Louis, 41,000 hotel rooms. Cincinnati, 30,000 hotel rooms. Columbus, 31,000 hotel rooms. Memphis, 25,000 hotel rooms. Remember that. Nashville, 53,000 hotel rooms. Pittsburgh has 28. We have 21,000 hotel rooms. And so the closest city to Louisville is Memphis at 25,000, and they got us beat by a ways. And so when you all leave here and you become my ambassadors today, I need you to preach. We don't have nearly enough hotels in this market to compete like we want to compete. So let me give you some perspective, though, because we have grown in that regard. 2016, we had 146 hotels in the metro area. Today, we have 174 hotels. And I think that's some of the, well, why are we continuing to build hotels? Because we have built 28 hotels. And you think about our sector, that's a lot of hotels in this community. But we still need more. We need bigger hotels. I know we built Omni, we built some mid-sized ones. We need another big hotel or two in our market. Tell you about Bourbon. So I moved here, as Barbara said, I moved here 10 years ago. So in January of 2013, there's not a distillery in the market in Louisville. By 2019, we have 10 distilleries. And these distilleries that have been built in downtown Louisville, they built them for the visitor experience. They're all built for visitors. The bourbon industry understood there's some opportunities here because the tourism is growing so fast in Louisville. That's why we saw so much development quickly from the bourbon industry. And they've been great. They're great partners. We were just down at ASAE for an event, for a trade show, and Angels Envy came down there with us. Great partners for us. But what I said to you earlier about we used to be sort of a seasonal destination, and now we're all year long, it's because of those distilleries and those experiences. Let me help you with some other growth that's just in our sector. Just in our sector. 2016, we had 21 nonstop destinations to Louisville. Today we have 39. And again, we continue to grow in our sector. So I just told you about 28 hotels, 10 distilleries. We've grown our airport. And I've been here 10 years, so that's happened in 10 years just in our sector. So that's why I'm here to try to create ambassadors, because our sector is growing fast, whether you all get on board or not, but I want you on board. Our sector is growing very fast. Angels Envy, who opened within those 10 years, just expanded. You know, they're doing so well, they just expanded their operation. Slugger Museum, and the old leader at the Slugger Museum, she really gave us a hard way to go when we started to really focus our branding on bourbon. And we told her, this is going to be a high tide for all of us. And she didn't want to buy into it. And you think about Slugger today, they just built the Billets facility that's right next to it. If you haven't been in that facility at Slugger, it's a bourbon-related facility right next to Slugger. It's really neat. You got to go check that out. And what about new developments? It's no accident that Churchill decided to build the Derby gaming facility right across the street from the convention center. They understood it. We've got Top Golf coming in. We've got new hotels. I didn't tell you, we've grown by 28 hotels since 2016. And we've got 4 under development right now. And we probably are taking calls for another 2 or 3. So hotels are moving. We've got the new Village Market out at Parristown Point. You know, there's development in our industry, in our sector. And so I wanted to make sure you all sort of understood that as we kept going. Now, before I get to this young lady, I got to ask my question again. Tourism is seeking local ambassadors. We're looking for someone to tell someone how proud you are to be a Louisvillian. Oh, there's some more hands. I'm looking for folks to invite friends and family to visit. All right, that's better. It was a little slow. There wasn't a lot of enthusiasm with the hand raise. I need folks to encourage personal and professional organizations to hold meetings. Okay, there's a couple. Barbara Sexton-Smith, I'm talking to you after this. And then I'm looking for volunteers, whether folks you want to kick out of the house. I've got some information about the volunteer piece. Kick folks out of the house. Okay, so I'm in my wrap up, but I do want to tell you all a couple of stories. So when I moved here in 2013, I started in 2013. I was living in the hotels, living in the bought house. And so I'm trying to find a place to live. So you're going into post offices, you're going into Targets, you're going into the Krogers. And I always thought it was so interesting. For those of you who are old enough, I always thought I was on candid camera or something. But I always thought it was interesting. If I told someone I moved here, they would lean in and say, oh, you're going to really love living here. You know, people were so excited about their own community. And I thought, for someone that's been in tourism all their life, I thought, man, this is the place I want to be, because when the normal, and when I say normal, not in tourism, when the normal citizen in a Kroger is telling me how excited I'm going to be to live in Louisville, I thought, man, I'm in the right place. And that's part of why I want to create more ambassadors. My financial advisor is an African-American woman. She's out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And been working with her for about 15 years. And she was coming to town with some friends. And she said, hey, I'd love to get together with you and get to town. I said, absolutely. So met her down at one of the hotels downtown. And eventually I said, so what are you guys all here for? And it was 9 African-American women. I said, what are you guys all here for? Oh, we came in for bourbon. We're here for bourbon weekend. I'm like, are you? I thought, really? And I thought, and this is before the pandemic, and I thought to myself, as you know, are we missing a market that we need to do a better job of going after? I think the assumption, and I'll throw myself in there, is that 9 African American women, 9 white women, 9 Hispanic women would probably not be coming to Louisville just to do bourbon. That wouldn't be the thing you think they'd pick. We don't have a spa in town, by the way. If anyone that needs to invest in a spa, we need spas in downtown. We need spas. We have no spas. We need spas. But there's no spas, and so I just thought it was really, and I asked a really ignorant question as the head of tourism. I said, well, why did you all decide to come here? She's like, Cleo, the bourbon industry here is fantastic. We love it. We want to drink it. We want to learn about it. And I thought, we're going to start to go after that market. And so the last story I'll tell you, and this was and I know we all live in this community. So this was summer of 21. I think it was June. So you all know we had just come off a really tough year, as we call it, our double pandemic in Louisville. And I was crossing the street from the parking garage heading over to the Omni, and there was a white family, husband, wife, and 3 kids, and they were across the street as well. And so the husband, father said, hey, we're trying to get the Doc Crows, can you help me? I said, well, absolutely. And I said, so what are you guys doing here? I said, oh my God, we're down from Chicago, our #1 market. She said, we're down from Chicago, my kids wanted to go to Slugger, and me and the wife wanted to do bourbon. I was like, okay. And you know, you all remember at the time, as we talked about the social protests going on in our community, you know, folks were like, no one wants to come, and it's bad, and it's this. And I thought, here's a white family from Chicago. They obviously must have missed all the news that we get consumed with, which I'm happy about. But they were here, the kids want to go to Slugger, the husband and wife, they want to do some bourbon. And so, you know, it helped me, you know, you have these little moments that really help you to say, you know what we're doing, we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep doubling down in Chicago and our other markets to bring folks here. We have a Black Heritage Tourism program. When I think about my financial advisor and her friends, we have a Black Heritage Tourism program now where we want to grow our African American visitation because we need to focus in on that. So, those are my 3 stories. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit about sort of what we've got going on in a real rapid fashion for this year coming up. So last year we had about 3 million folks go through museums and attractions. This year we've got a goal of moving that to 3.5 million. I told you earlier, 3% of our international visitation, 3% of our visitation is international. We are all over that market now. We feel like we've got nothing but opportunity. This year we'll be in the UK, Germany, France, and Australia, taking the Louisville brand. Because what we did before, we partnered with the state of Kentucky to do international, but we're ready to just be Louisville. And we're going to go into those markets and we're going to get our brand immersed in those markets and grow our international visitation. As I just mentioned to you, we have a goal to grow African American leisure visitation from 11% to 14% through our Black Heritage Tourism program. We're going to continue to target markets. When I talked about the airport, one of the things I didn't tell you is that we have a great relationship with the airport. So as the airport has grown with direct flights, Louisville Tourism goes into those markets and we do advertising because we want to support getting folks in those markets on planes coming into our community. So, for example, we were just in Boston in June. If you all didn't know, we have a new direct flight that started in June from Louisville to Boston. And we're in Boston now. We do advertising, we do marketing in Boston to support that flight, and hopefully we uncover a new market that's not one of our traditional markets. We do that in Boston, we're doing that in LA, we're doing it in New Orleans, and we're doing it in Austin, Texas. All markets that have new direct flights from our airport. We're going to continue to double down in our feeder markets at Chicago, our #1 leisure visitation market. DC and Atlanta and Nashville will continue to double down our advertising in those markets. Let me tell you a little bit about community, and then I'll answer some questions if you have any. We believe a good place to live is a good place to visit. How can tourism contribute to making Louisville a better place to live? We want to stay in our lane, but we want to help make this a better place to live as well. One of the programs we have is a Leave a Legacy program. So you recall I talked about 881 meetings, conventions, and events. And what we do with these groups now is that as we start to get their program up and going, we now engage them with about 10 or 11 nonprofits that we've identified here locally. And we don't ask them if they want to come paint the building. We don't ask them if they want to come do Habitat for Humanity. We've shifted that. We're asking them for financial contributions. And we believe if we can get 20% of the 881, or this year it's going to be 600, to contribute, we're going to help our local agencies to improve our community. So that's one of the programs we're really excited about. We're partnering with Fund for the Arts, and this program is a neighborhood art program. We want to take the art that is existing in our community, and we want to begin to tell the story of the art, the artist, and why is it in the community that it's in. And we will put this into an art trail on our website for visitors. So as a driving sort of tour trail that can draw, we hope to take the visitors that we have that come into downtown or the airport area, the East End, and get them to drive throughout our community, to go to our restaurants and other communities while they're here for their visit. Workforce development, as it is a challenge for all of you, certainly a challenge for us. We will continue to focus in there. We continue to host a quarterly DEI training for our industry. Louisville Tourism provides this complimentary to everyone in our industry. And matter of fact, if any of you called and said, we want our staff to attend, you can attend as well. But we feel it's important to make sure our community, it can be inclusive, so we're welcoming to all visitors that want to come to Louisville. We're working with community agencies to improve wayfinding. And if you listen to some of the things I'm telling you, these are all things that while they're good for you, they're also good for the visitor. So we're staying in our lane, but it's also good for the community. So we're working on wayfinding. And then finally, we're working with the bourbon industry, because now that we're growing, we want to unify the message, the history of what we tell our visitors. So whether you're in a bar, a distillery, or a restaurant, we're going to have a unified story as to the history of bourbon and what bourbon means to our community. So we're working with the bourbon industry to do that. So lots of work. Do I have more tourism ambassadors? Are you believing what I'm telling you? I need you to invite friends. I want you to be excited about inviting your family and friends. I want you to be encouraged to invite your personal and professional organizations, and I'm looking for volunteers. We have a new 78 social program. And it's a volunteer program. I got some information here. Anyone know why it might be called 78 Social? A guess? Who said that? Who said 1778? That's right. There you go. See? There you go, nation. So it is an ambassador program, which is it's a members club, and what we want to do is provide connection and network, professional development, and there's going to be opportunities to attend exclusive events. And so if any of you are interested, I have information about 78 Social, and I hope you will get more involved. And I know I had a little fun with you all today, but we do need more ambassadors other than the ones who don't talk. They've done a great job for us, but I need some talking ambassadors. So thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. We've got some questions. Rotarians, make your way to the back. I have a question. So when Mayor Gregg came in, one of the three things he had lifelong learning. What was the second? And he had compassion was the third. His three pillars: health, lifelong learning, and compassion. So Tom Williams, one of our members, headed up the Compassionate City, all of this stuff. And 10 years ago, Tom goes, well, once you look at Louisville is a destination for spiritual formation. We have the Festival of Faith. We have Thomas Merton in Bardstown. We've got all the his Sing Everyone is a Beauty of Light at 4th Muhammad Ali. Have y'all ever considered doing anything like that? Because there's just so many communities here in Louisville that people don't know about in the spiritual community.
Sure, and what we do with that is more specific to religious organizations, and we talk about that, we promote that. I wish I could tell you, but it's really exciting news. I'm leaving here tomorrow to go to Texas for a religious organization that I believe we're going to be hosting here next year, and it's such great news. But that's the kind of thing we use that information for, to continue to promote that, because it does matter.
Thank you. And so we're going to do questions at 12:58. So everybody that wants to get their question in, get it in, because we're going to get out of here at 1. So Cliff, start us off. Thank you.
You mentioned restaurants at the very end there. We have the Sullivan University Culinary Arts School. I was in the insurance business for 45 years. And insurance company representatives came from Columbus, Indianapolis, Chicago, New York. Every time they came, where do you want to go to eat? We have chains. We don't want to go to a chain. We want to go to one of Louisville's local restaurants. What are we doing to promote that?
We are absolutely promoting that. I appreciate you saying that, but we look at the bourbon, when we go out and market, it's about food and beverage. So when we are doing an event in DC or doing an event in Chicago or Atlanta, it's a food and beverage. So cuisine is always a part of what we do. In our industry, the two of those terms go together. So whether we're at a trade show, whether we're doing events of our own, whether we do events here, the food and beverage part of it is all together. So it's a big part of what we do. Absolutely.
President Wong. Cleo, thank you for that. Jean Western, Indian past president. Question, how many Rotarians in the room have adult children who live in other states? Almost all of us. I have 3. So when you're talking about your social ambassador club, and they make it a point to have a little derby party every week, those are your ambassadors, and those are our children who know in their age group what it's going to sell. Perhaps a program for them, maybe a card, or send them a little thing to put in their apartments.
And if your child lives in Philadelphia, $17.78 is what it costs. $17.78. We set it up not only for locals but for folks out of market. We absolutely want that, and we believe that.
Hey Cleo, thank you for being here today. Chris Monzo, Sandbox Design. I saw the new tourism video at JA, the board meeting last week. Don't want to put you on the spot here, but could you share that with us? That was the best representation of Louisville I've ever seen.
Can I share it with just
perhaps here
give it to the
meeting?
club? Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that to you all.
It was inspiring.
Yeah.
Hi Cleo, I'm Henry Heiser, and thank you for being with us. I love your energy and enthusiasm.
Thanks.
I think you mentioned $3 million a year in the room tax.
$3.4 billion in economic impact.
Okay, now, you didn't mention the Airbnbs. Is that tax
part of that.
included in that? And
it is.
How large is Airbnb compared to hotel revenues or taxes?
If I'm not mistaken, Henry, I believe it's about $1 million a year that you bring in taxes, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But it is unlike some of the other destinations in Kentucky. We went through that process about 6 years ago to make sure the Airbnbs locally were part of the bed tax as hotels would be.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. This is fascinating. Rick Harnett. Regarding international connections, Rotary is involved in friendship exchanges with other countries, and next year we will have groups of visitors from New Zealand and El Salvador. And I'm curious to know, is there a connection at Louisville Tourism that we can make to ensure we can entertain these visitors well?
Absolutely. Her name is Jessica Morgan, and I will make sure, if it's Delene, I will make sure whoever needs to know that has that information. But she heads up our international strategies and initiatives. And we do, it's not just us going out of market, we do a lot of hosting of folks in market as well.
I have 2 questions. My guest would like to get a one-on-one with you. She has some connections for some of your marketing that you're wanting to do. And then my second question is the pretty lady you had on the screen. I don't think you told us who she was.
Yes, that's Samara Rivers. She's with the Black Bourbon Society. And she is here for an event this weekend. And so if we had more time, I would sit down and tell you everything we're sort of doing in the Black Heritage strategy segment for ours. But the Black Bourbon Society is it's an 8,000 member organization across the country. Samara was from LA. She really wasn't from Kentucky, and she created this organization when she was living in LA. And part of our strategy to try to drive more African American visitation is to partner with organizations like that to give them reasons to want to come and and visit our community. But that's who that was, Samara Rivers.
Real quick, Cleo, I think it would be great if you could just touch on maybe 2 points around the actual BTAC and what 2 of our initiatives that we're working on at the Louisville Tourism. Because a lot of my fellow Rotarians here, we're working on DEI initiatives too. So I think it would be great if we could kind of hear at least 2 of them, if it's the West End guide that we're working on or whatever piece you want to elaborate on, that could be great.
Sure. So Nishan is part of our Black Tourism Advisory Council, and this is a council we put together in the summer of 20, and it's made up of individuals that are in the industry in our community that are African American, as well as folks like Nishan who are just community leaders and they wanted to be involved. And we brought this group together to do 3 things. 1, how can we ensure that our marketing represents the community? As she talked about the West End, and when you think about our visitor guide, you think about our website, because again, we are representing this community globally. Does it represent the community the way it should be? And so they were a part of that and making sure and creating opportunities for us to, or considering opportunities for where to market to. The second bucket was content. In developing content, if you're going to bring more African American leisure visitors to town, well, what type of content do you have for them, and what's going to be of interest? Now, I will tell you, as an African American man, African Americans travel. They want to do the same thing that a white person, Hispanic person, Asian person. They want to do the same thing. They want to go to Derby. They want to have bourbon. They want to do the same exact thing. The difference is, when you go home, and if that's what you did, you say, man, sit down, I had a great time in Louisville. If you have more culturally enriched experiences, that person goes home and says, man, sit down, let me tell you about Louisville. I had a great time. And so we have put together the Unfiltered Truth Collection, which tells the story of, for example, if you've been out to the Derby Museum, tells the story of the black jockeys. Now, many of you probably knew that black jockeys were very involved in the horse race in the early part of the 1900s, but the story wasn't told. So now we're telling that story. So that's part of what the Unfiltered Truth Collection is. And then the third bucket is a business-to-business bucket. When a convention comes to town, they probably use 7 to 10 local businesses to help them execute their convention here in town. And one of the things we began to see that was important is that the businesses that were taking advantage of that, they looked all the same. And what could we do to try to make sure that everyone that has a relatable business had an opportunity to participate in the economic impact of tourism? And so our Black Tourism Advisory Council has helped us to form a list of businesses in this community that are related to tourism. My board supported us developing a small cultural tourism grant so that these folks can get in the door and be a part of this, and hopefully we can retain them after a year. So Black Tourism Advisory Council and Nate Shands on that, and I appreciate everything she does and her voice. They're a very opinionated group, which is what you want. But they have helped us to really solidify that particular strategy for us. So that's as quick as I can be. Okay. Thank you.
Ken, others folks on the speakers committee, thank you. I mean, this makes our meetings such more meaningful. To thank Cleo today, we're donating $500 to our West Louisville Housing Initiative in Cleo's name. And for those of you, thank you very much. This was a great experience. And you know, if I wasn't living here, I'd visit, I promise. Thank you. Wait, one more thing. I know what everybody's been waiting for is our door prize. What could it be? What could it be? Well, let me tell you what it is. It's dinner for two, lunch for two, at Joe's Palm Room on any Thursday that we're there for you and for you to bring a guest. We want you to come to West Louisville to Joe's Palm Room. And what better way can we do that by giving you a... So here we go. Nashon is going, yes. Pick her number. Pick her number. All right. Here we go. 487-268. Do we have a winner? Winner, chicken dinner. 487-268. Tom Boder. Tom's our winner. Thank you, Cleo. Thank you. Tom, just see Delene. We will get that done. We're almost there. I know it's just a couple of seconds after 1. We got a couple of quick things. If you need to leave, please jump up and do that. But I got to get some things done. So now we did the door prizes. So some of you all have asked me a few things. 1, Rotary Honor Scholars. When does it start? No, September the 14th at Iroquois High School. More to follow. Our leadership fellows, there's at least 4 of them here, maybe 5. Y'all stand up so we can recognize you. These are our students at the University of Louisville MBA program. Get to know them, and I can tell you that a few of them come to our Rotary Honor Scholars Mentoring Program. They love it. Our club is enriched by your presence. Thank you for being here today. And now Walt's words of wisdom. If you saw them, they all had to do with visiting places. So let your walks now be a little more adventurous. There's a couple more. The last one, I'm just going to jump to it, right to the very last one. You have braids in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who decides where you'll go. I guess we're going for the door. Have a great day. We are adjourned.